Hello， 大家好，我是君培。这支影片会看2个小新闻，另外就会看近日 Apex 界传得最火热的一支影片，知名的高手 Xraypad 的灵魂汉化，以及对 Apex 下滑的分析。可能你们会觉得年终不是听一堆这种吗？但这支影片推出短短的几天，已经有近100万的观看，可以反映出它的含金量以及共鸣性。最重要的是，它的内容也完全是我的想法，我会为大家加速以及剪出重点的部分，再加强翻译。现在说一下造型还有活动相关的事情。第一，就是现在商店看到的抓刀已经可以用神话碎片兑换了，但其实这是官方的事物，购买下去会显示错误。不过为了防止大家碎片有个万一消失了，还是在这边提醒一下，抓刀先不要换。等夏季活动下架后再换会比较保险。另外就是跟 FF 合作的活动，似乎会是在这次农历新年的回归活动，奖励目前还不清楚，只是可以看到活动途中的大件跟当时现实活动用的大件有一点点的不同，大家的猜测或许是异色之类的。另外会有一个新的 OTA 造型。总之也得等更接近更新才会清楚，只是没想到现实合作的活动也会有回归的一天。官方说的话真的是一年比一年还不能相信了。最后造型的相关事情也来说，最近数据挖掘家挖掘出来的也是相当耍眼的造型，那就是旅日机的造型。你没有听错，就是把敌人关在厕所以及阻止敌对前进最好用的旅日。挖掘出来的资料大概就是讲图中这样的蓝色样子，目前还不清楚怎么取得。但这个东西，如果官方希望玩家掏钱去购买，是不是有点过分啦？老实说，就算丢出后火焰的特效很华丽之类的，我也不会想要购买。毕竟精湛的武器还有枪都可以看整场游戏，但真的会有人拿着旅日机去欣赏吗？甚至是如果修改了燃烧的特效而导致配读音，就会让人更反感。官方最近对造型的操作让人觉得越来越迷了，除了对于造型美术美感外，或许他们连什么造型能赚钱都得要想想了。另外提一下新的枪种 EPG， 除了放回不错的特性，一枪打65左右还可以的伤害外，很多的实况组发现可以用这把枪给的后坐力来达到快速移动，像影片中的这样，也有很多人拿来跟生命线滑墙的被动做配搭，就可以达到高速滑墙的效果。同样也是推荐给大家，在实战中可以打的敌人一个措手不及。下面就一起来看看谈 Apex 近况近来最热门的影片。
As I'm sure we're all aware, Apex Legends has had it quite rough the past couple years. Player counts have been steadily declining for years, and everyone is throwing fingers different directions. So I wanted to talk about my experience playing the game, why I've stopped playing so much, and why I don't plan to play hardly at all going forward. I've played this game for 4 years, and I've been every type of player. I've played it casually for a while with friends, played ranked casually, competed at the highest level, and played ranked professionally. So I've had a mix of it just being my hobby and being a full-time job. And as a pro player and streamer, I've also heard lots of insider information and schemes or secrets or whatever you want to call them, which I'll get into later. So I'm not going to start from the beginning. It's a live service game and the current version is all that matters. I will frequently bring up anecdotes from the past, but only if I feel as though they are relevant to why the game is currently the way it is. Let's start with what has become the absolute #1 reason why I think the game has fallen to such a low, and I'll use an example. Take Skyrim. It is one of the best-selling games of all time, and people still play it to this day, over 10 years later. However, there are also tons of people who don't like Skyrim, and Skyrim doesn't care if you don't like it. If you don't like open world fantasy vibe, that's fine, you can go play something else. It's not trying to appease everyone. Apex Legends, however, constantly flips back and forth between what audience it is trying to capture, and while doing so, it loses both of them. Live service games tend to either go after one audience: competitive-minded people who like to try being the best or just want to scratch a competitive itch, or the casual audience who don't really have any allegiance to the game whatsoever and will just jump around to whatever they think is fun or looks like it will be fun. Fortnite is a great example. They have literally thousands of game modes for people to choose from and are constantly adding in new stuff to keep people interested. The competitive scene in Fortnite, while large and actively supported by the developers, is really just more of an arm or leg to the game, whereas in a game like CSGO, competitive is the head and the torso. How does this relate to Apex Legends? Well, I have 3 examples which I'll be talking about. Let's start with the second worst one in my opinion: engagement optimized matchmaking in public matches. EOMM for short basically throws skill-based matchmaking out the window and attempts to try and choose when you win and when you lose to try and trick you into playing longer. For as long as I can remember, Apex Legends does not care about putting you with your skill group, unlike almost every other live service game. You'll hear constant complaints from casual players saying they are solo queuing and dying to a 3-stack of people clearly way better than them, and it turns them away from the game. Well, that's because of of EOMM. I'm a very good player. I should not be in lobbies with noobs, and we can all agree on that. However, if I take, say, a 3 to 4 day break from pubs, not even the game, just the pub playlist, I will 100% be put into a match with people who are nowhere close to my skill level. After about 1 to 2 hours of me absolutely steamrolling people, I will then suddenly have my matchmaking time quadrupled and will even get skipped very often in the queue. These games are filled with nothing but sweats, and the games will stay that way until I take another 3 to 4 day break from pubs. With this system, both good and bad players who want a casual experience are frustrated. Noobs are constantly getting farmed, and good players are forced to play in the sweatiest lobbies possible until they quite literally stop playing the game and come back later. Skill-based matchmaking isn't bad for gaming. Engagement-optimized matchmaking is bad for gaming. EA has a patent for it and uses it in what I assume is all of their competitive games. Let's move on to example number 2. This will be infamous for veteran players, but for those who didn't play Apex, oh boy, you're in for a ride. The transition from Season 12 to Season 13 was one of the most poorly handled updates in the history of gaming, in my opinion. Let me lay it out for you. Season 12 turned the very popular ranked playlist from semi-competitive to a participation award and ruined all semblance of competitiveness in this game. If you were an Apex Legends player in Season 12, there was not even a remotely competitive game mode that you can play, which is fine. That's not inherently bad if you're a casual-centric game. Well, it was like this for 90 days and essentially alienated any player who wanted to play competitively. All right, cool. So we're doing a casual-focused game with lots of releases, and that's the strategy. Well, Season 13 ended up being what was unanimously considered the most competitive the game has ever been. The competitive players that were left rejoiced as they finally had the mode they waited 13 seasons for. Apex pivoted to being an ultra-competitive game, and the casual community became frustrated. What happened to our casual experience? The casual audience was then alienated. This cycle has happened countless times in Apex's history, but Season 12 to 13 was by far the worst. This completely removes the identity of the game. When people load up Minecraft, for example, they know what they're getting. When people sit down at a chessboard even, they know what they're getting. You don't know what's going to happen when you load up Apex Legends month to month. The developers just can't make up their mind, and it pushes away everyone to games where they know they'll get what they're coming there for. Example number 3, current Apex Legends. It's in the worst state it's ever been. We're currently in the part of the cycle where the game is just absolutely not competitive in the slightest. Pro teams are dropping 40 kill games consistently, and everyone is getting their participation awards for ranked. So, competitive players have nothing to play because Apex isn't scratching that itch for them. So, that's a problem. But here's the second problem. Apex isn't releasing any content whatsoever to keep its casual audience intact. We're getting our 4th year of Winter Express game mode with barely any changes to anything else, while other gaming studios are releasing content at breakneck pace. Why would anyone in God's name want to play something like Winter Express while Snoop Dogg is having a concert on Fortnite and Marvel just dropped an incredibly polished Overwatch competitor? Apex Legends is continuing to lose market share among the casual audience while simultaneously alienating its competitive audience. However, that leads into a harsh reality of Apex Legends. Apex wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. This is where we start to get into personal anecdotes, more opinionated arguments, and the drama I mentioned earlier. For those that don't know, Apex Legends was originally supposed to be Titanfall 3, but after the success of the Battle Royale genre, it changed during development to be Apex Legends, and the game was surprise released with essentially zero marketing. What happened next was something EA could never have expected. The game absolutely banged far beyond anyone's expectations, raking in billions and billions of dollars even years after the release, which very likely would not have been the case for Titanfall 3. So that's great. The game did better than expected. That means they'll put more resources into building it even bigger. Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, Apex Legends is a huge victim of corporate America. You see, EA had 2 options after they caught lightning in a bottle with Respawn's Apex. They either take a risk and keep putting more work into it, hoping it'll grow even larger, or they sit on their fat stack of cash and collect an absolute boatload of money while keeping costs as low as possible. And as I'm sure you can probably guess, as time went on, they shifted way more towards the second one. The expected earnings of Titanfall 3 were absolutely blown out of the water with Apex, and I think this reality made its way down the management chain and severely affects the decisions that Respawn makes with Apex Legends. I've talked to countless Respawn employees from various departments over the years, ranging from art to security to map designers to game balancers to community managers, play testers, etc., and I have heard 2 gloomy phrases they've all repeated. we want to do blank, but we're not allowed, or all our suggestions fall on deaf ears, both of which imply one major problem. Upper management is either negligent, lazy, or has motives that do not align with the player's best interest. Almost every Respawn employee I've worked with directly was absolutely dripping with talent and passion for the game, but they're being actively suppressed by the people above them on the totem pole, and it has been incredibly sad to listen to them slowly lose passion for the game, and most of them, quite frankly, sound like they've given up at this point, and it sucks to listen to. There's one final thing that I think really sealed the nail in the coffin for my love for Apex, and that's the active suppression of community-made content. Almost every game that has stood the test of time has had user-generated content. Minecraft is the most popular game of all time because you can literally do whatever you want. You can build anything you can imagine, and anything you can't build, you can easily mod into the game. Fortnite has a whole catalog of user-made maps with millions of players. Apex Legends has, like I said, actively suppressed all community-made content. There is a modded version of the Apex client where you can kind of sort of make stuff if you know what you're doing. Anyone that has any sort of involvement in this is literally shunned by Respawn. If you're an EA creator and you even talk about R5 Apex, you will be kicked out of the program. I tried hosting a $1,000 tournament in this modded version of the game, and I was handed a cease and desist by an EA lawyer in less than a week. Actually, it was probably more like 2 days, but I'm gonna say a week. And of course, they have every right to do this. But the thing is, they're suppressing community-made content while simultaneously not releasing any of their own. They aren't making good content at the pace that's needed for them to compete with other titles. They won't let the community make their own content, and they won't make the game competitive. Not one person is shocked that the Apex Legends player count keeps reaching new all-time lows.
你们对他的想法觉得如何呢？我也想要在留言区跟各位讨论一下。总之，近来我应该也会去试一试 Marvel Rifle， 最少过了2个星期，同时在线人数也一直保持在40万左右。试完再看看要不要做相关的影片。有兴趣的在留言区里面讲一下。喜欢这支影片的记得按赞订阅。感谢画面上各位支持我继续做 Apex 内容。我是金培，先说到这里，感谢观看，下次影片再见，拜。